Can I just say thank you so much for coming out today and to the ports of Auckland. Can I just say a big thank you to Roger Gray, the CEO, and all of his team for so generously hosting us here today. Can I also just give a big shout out to Jake O'Flaherty? It's his birthday today, so happy birthday, Jacob. But with that, can I start with the announcement, which is that New Zealand, as you well know, is a trading nation, and National is the party of trade. 1 in every 4 Kiwi jobs are linked to trade, and by expanding market access for our exporters, we create more jobs, we lift our incomes, and we earn the money that we need to pay for our schools and for our hospitals. In the last 2.5 years, National has negotiated and signed 3 high-quality free trade agreements with India, the United Arab Emirates, and of course the Six Nation Gulf Cooperation Council, while also bringing the New Zealand-EU FTA into force ahead of schedule. We have now completed 23 trade missions to 18 countries, generating more than $2 billion in deals and contracts and commercial commitments. National will not let up. We are going to continue our unrelenting pursuit of better access for our farmers, our growers, our winemakers, our manufacturers, and our technology entrepreneurs. Because what could be more important in a very volatile and uncertain world than having the security of free trade agreements that deliver for Kiwis? Every container that makes its way out of the world, out into the world from ports like this, of course, means that we get more money into the back pockets of Kiwis up and down the towns and cities across New Zealand. Having our kiwi fruit on shelves in Shanghai supports livelihoods in Te Puke. Having our wine on the menu in Chicago helps people in Otago. And the economic power of trade is why at the last election we promised to secure an FTA with India in our first term. Many said it couldn't be done, but you know that we have now delivered it. That agreement eliminates or reduces tariffs on 95% of our exports and builds the future for our economy by unlocking access to an ever-growing middle class eager to buy our high-quality products and services at a premium. We now have a reputation as a serious, reliable negotiating partner. And partners come to the table knowing that a deal with New Zealand can be done quickly and, importantly, be done well. And that brings us to today and what comes next for National's ambitious trade agenda. Today, I can announce that if re-elected, National will chase the next 1 billion customers for New Zealand by launching trade negotiations with 7 new priority markets in the next 5 years. And while these 7 markets represent almost 700 million people and economies worth 9.5 trillion New Zealand dollars in total, our exports to these places comes to just $1.8 billion, showing the huge scale of opportunity that exists in front of us. The choice is clear at the next election. National's track record of delivering on trade access to grow our economy, to create jobs and to boost wages, leading to a more secure future for you and your family. Or the opposite, which could see less progress, more uncertainty, and certainly a less secure future. I'm going to pass over to National's trade spokesperson, our great New Zealand Trade Minister, Todd McClay, to provide more detail about which markets we'll prioritise and the other ways that we hope to grow our exports. Thanks so much. Thanks, Todd.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Prime Minister. New Zealand's next billion customers is not just a campaign commitment, it's a statement of National's ambition for the country. 3 years ago, we campaigned on doubling the value of exports within 10 years and on securing that trade agreement with India and their 1.4 billion people. Government agencies, businesses, sectors, individual companies have joined us, setting their own strategies to meet that goal over the coming decade. And we're on track with exports growth compounding at around 8% per year over the last 3 years. Doubling the value of our exports as we chase New Zealand's next billion customers will create jobs, lift incomes and add prosperity for every New Zealander. The 7 markets we will look to open negotiations with in the next 5 years fall into 3 categories. The first is Europe, Switzerland and the EFTA countries of Iceland, Liechtenstein and Norway, some of the wealthiest consumers in the world paying premium prices for high quality food. And then South America, Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, anchoring a continent of more than 400 million people, ready for our agri-tech, services, food and beverage. And South America is getting closer to New Zealand. New direct air links are on the way, helped by our transit visa changes, bringing more trade and tourism. Trade deals in the region will make the most of those opportunities. and some emerging giants, Bangladesh and Nigeria, among some of the fastest growing developing economies on earth, with young populations and rapidly expanding middle class demanding safe, high quality food. Bangladesh, as an example, is a major dairy importer. Building on the success of the India Free Trade Agreement, a deal with Bangladesh will be critical in protecting and growing our dairy access as international competition intensifies. And Africa will be to the next decade what Southeast Asia was to the last. New Zealand must secure first mover advantage and a strong foothold as our African economies start to trade, or we risk losing out to the EU, to the US and to China. A second tranche of 6 will follow over the decade, South Africa, Turkey, Colombia, Morocco, Sri Lanka and Mauritius. 13 economies, almost 1 billion people, New Zealand's next billion customers. Now, some will say this program is too ambitious, but our record this term says otherwise. As the Prime Minister said in this term, we've completed the trade agreement with the UAE in just 3 months, New Zealand's fastest ever trade negotiation, eliminating 98.5% of all of our exports tariffs from day one. And the Gulf Cooperation countries, done in 6 months, 6 nations with $4 trillion each year in their economies, duties eliminated by 99% over 10 years. And India, in just 9 months, that deal that we were told couldn't be done, covering 95% of our exports. And we haven't just been doing free trade agreements, we've built new trade architecture for an uncertain world. The AOTE's agreement with Singapore, the world's first essential supplies agreement, now our template for like-minded countries. We've enlarged the CPTPP with Costa Rica's accession concluded and negotiations with the UAE, Indonesia, the Philippines and Uruguay starting this year. We've grown the DEPA agreement, the Digital Economies Partnership Agreement, and launched the Green Economies Partnership Agreement, and we've concluded the ACTS Agreement, the Agreement on Climate Change, Trade and Sustainability. As the Prime Minister said, the world knows a deal with New Zealand can be done quickly and can be done well, and that's why partners keep coming to our table. The new agreements only pay off when Kiwi businesses use them, so we'll also build 3 practical tools using AI, covering tariffs, rules of origin and market access, so that exporters know the advantages we've won for them. They can use them more easily and reduce costs to get into markets. We'll shift the New Zealand Trade and Enterprise from a follow to a lead and follow model, and launch the next 200 program to back the next generation of exporters. Complete at least 23 more trade missions with a sector-specific focus and measurable commercial outcomes, and eliminate a further $1 billion of non-tariff barriers to get costs down for New Zealand exporters. Under national, exports have already grown from $94 billion to $114 billion. The next billion customers is an ambitious goal. On our record, is it a deliverable one? Only national will keep the doors open for New Zealand exporters to the world. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Todd. And with that, Todd and I are happy to take questions. It's great to have Candice with us, our candidate for Auckland Central as well. But let's get into questions around the policy announcement, and we'll take others for the rest of the day.
About the ambition?
Yes.
Yes, these agreements with 7 nations. Has there been any contact yet with these nations, and if so, what's been the response?
Well, we have a very busy Trade Minister. He's in contact with lots of people, but Todd, I'll let you talk to some of the specifics about that.
Yeah, thank you. And a number of meetings around the world, from the WTO ministerial meetings, of which are negotiations have been 2. In New Zealand, I've been fortunate enough to be a vice chair at each of the 2 meetings, and also a chief negotiator. We've engaged quite widely and extensively. The list we've come together is not only the countries where there is opportunity for New Zealand exporters to do well, but they are countries that are like-minded and that we have had early conversations with. But we're not at a stage to announce any launch yet. We've got a campaign to fight and win, but it's a clear signal to New Zealand and New Zealanders that where others said an India free trade deal was not possible, they too might say the next billion customers is not possible. Under national, we will deliver.
You talked about a 5-year time frame. Within that time frame, how many
Well, I'd like to get all of them done, but ultimately you need a willing partner. We need to get on with it.
I think the exciting thing is that when you look at the next phase of ambition that we have is that, you know, what Todd's proposing is that we infill the bits in Europe that are high value consumers that we don't currently have locked up through the EU or the UK FTA. Certainly we want to have an anchor in South America now with Brazil, Argentina and Uruguay. And then when you look at Nigeria, one of the fastest growing economies in the world, one of the biggest economies, oil-rich country in Africa, it's a clear anchor and a clear priority for us to focus on there, along with Bangladesh as two of the big emerging global South economies. And so, you know, it's been an exciting ride actually over the last 2.5 years as we've opened and negotiated and closed, you know, 3 agreements and then accelerated the EU into force much earlier. But now it's about going out with even more confidence, more ambition to create more diversification. And the great thing for Todd and I to observe over the last 2.5 years is that our exporters are much more agile, and they're able, if they're not making enough money in America, they'll move that product into Europe or into the UK, into China, into India, now into Southeast Asia, with the upgraded relationships that we've had. So, you know, we just want to create more optionality. Our job is to create the conditions for growth, and then it's up for our exporters to support them, as Todd said, with a renewed focus at NZTE and in our delegations being more sector specific in some cases, to actually make sure we create those opportunities for those exporters.
So when can we expect talks to begin with these markets?
Yep, I'll let Todd talk to that.
Well, ultimately, we've had a wide range of conversations about trade and the importance of rules. We will do the same in the next term of government as we have of this. On day one, get on the plane, start talking to people and look to launch negotiations.
Is there a danger of spreading yourself too thinly? I mean, there are parts of the India free trade deal that I'm sure dairy exporters won't be happy with, you know, because it was all done so quickly.
No, I disagree completely. It's an outstanding deal. It's a world-class deal. There is no country on earth that has a better deal with India on dairy than New Zealand. And dairy is a challenging category for the Indians in particular. But if you look at what we've negotiated with the high-value dairy products that we can get in, the re-exporting of infant formula and powdered milk, we've done a really good job there. So, I think people, I wouldn't just because we move fast. We did a high-quality deal fast because we know what we're doing, and we have confidence about how to do commercial deals well. And I think any other country, go talk to them, and they've asked a lot of questions of us in recent times about how did we pull off such a high-quality deal with India. So, now's the next phase. It's not about putting ourselves too thin. We have ruthless ambition and aspiration for this country. When 1 in 4 of our jobs are tied to trade, and the companies that export pay higher wages and salaries to their people, this is how we lift our incomes here in New Zealand. So we're going out in the world with confidence, and we're going to go out there and actually smash it.
There are often recent months, Prime Minister, about disruptions and uncertainties over tariffs and the Middle East conflict. So, is there anything about where we are right now that causes you concern about the ability to succeed?
No, this is exactly why we need to do more of this, because in a volatile and uncertain, chaotic world, as we're all experiencing, actually what New Zealand needs is to create more optionality, more diversification in its trading relationships and partnerships. And thank goodness that we started from day one when we came to power 2.5 years ago, because those agreements, those upgrades and those comprehensive strategic partnerships with ASEAN, the arrangements we've done with South Korea, coupled with all the work on non-tariff barriers, $700 million saved, all of that work has stood us in really good stead. And so that's actually a call for why you want to do more of it, because you actually want to work with like-minded friends, you want to work in partnerships, and you want to be innovative. And if you think about what Todd has created, and he's going to be chairing a meeting here in New Zealand, the second meeting of the Future of Investment and Trade Partnership of 16 countries that are coming to New Zealand to talk about what more they could do on trade. You think about the deal we did with Singapore, a world-leading deal on essential supplies. You think about the pioneering work we've done with Singapore and others that actually are free traders. We're going to continue that work and be right on the front foot and be very aggressive and very assertive about that. No, this is a National Party policy. We're saying when we get re-elected, day one, just like we did on India, Todd hit the planes and away he went, and it's going to be the same deal here.
But wouldn't it be sensible to change them? Because
no, National Party policy, and if you want to be sensible, the only thing to do is party vote national. It's as simple as that.
you may also need bipartisan agreement if this is the long-term thing.
Sure, my friend, but we actually are ambitious for New Zealand, and we have brutal ambition and aspiration, positivity, can do, and we're out there in the world smacking it. And so,
Do you expect any of these next group of nations to cause you any
well,
hurdles along the way?
no, this is about advancing New Zealand's interests, and we've seen some politicking around the Indian FTA, but we've got it done. We delivered it. We have Prime Minister Modi coming here on Friday and Saturday. The first time we've had an Indian Prime Minister here in 40 years. That speaks to the strength of the relationship that Todd and I we've been able to build over that period of time.
And which of these countries that we nationally have to pursue offers the biggest export growth, or is maybe the biggest untapped market for us?
Well, I think to think about the first 7, you've really got to think about the infill job we're doing with those 4 countries essentially in Europe, but are in 2 trading blocks, Switzerland and the Iceland, Liechtenstein and Norway. Then you've really, and that's about just infilling all of Europe so that we've got the full footprint there that we want. The second piece is really about opening up South America. You're seeing increasingly, through New Zealand, that's the most efficient way to link China with the South America, actually through New Zealand, and that creates an opportunity for us. And we've already got air services moving freight and cargo that way. But getting an anchor point into Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay, 400 million customers, really important. And then, as I said, big global South countries like, as we've done the deal with India, we want to open up with Brazil. Obviously, Nigeria is in that mix as well as one of the big economies in the world, one of the fastest growing, alongside Bangladesh as well. So there are 3 different approaches. Really high value, wealthy consumers in Europe. Really huge opportunities for many of our primary industries in South America, and then obviously working with growing economies like Nigeria and Bangladesh, getting in on the ground floor, growing with them as they grow and move from low income to middle income to high income.
Why is most of Southeast Asian countries in Indonesia, why is it not on the list?
We have trade agreements with them all already.
Indonesia, we have.
Yes, as part of the RCEP
RCEP.
agreement, we have access to them.
Are we aiming to grow our trade with Indonesia?
We are going to have foot on the accelerator growing trade with everybody, but if you think about it, RCEP has been one of the very good comprehensive agreements that covers most of Southeast Asia. We've also upgraded our ASEAN status to comprehensive strategic partnerships with all of those countries diplomatically, and so we have huge opportunity in Indonesia. We know we've got still huge opportunity in Southeast Asia, but now you start to look at a trade footprint that is China, yes, our largest trading partner, and, as I keep saying, China and strategy, Southeast Asia, Northeast Asia, India, the Gulf, Europe, UK, and obviously now we're opening up South America and heading into Africa.
Negotiating on 7 fronts. Does this mean anything for a resource for the negotiating team?
Yep.
Well, whenever I go to a meeting overseas, you get other countries that have very, very large delegations. To a man and a woman, our negotiators are better than all of them. So we turn up with a modest contingent of people who are respected, and they do very, very well. And we have the resource available. So you wouldn't see that all of the negotiations would start on day one. It is ambitious. It's over a period of time, but the resource and the expertise is there.
Can you explain what those new tools business?
Well, so if you think about it, so ultimately, if you take an example, if you want to take advantage of the European Union Free Trade Agreement that's been in place for 2 years now, and it's just $3 billion worth of exports to the European Union because we're able to get it in force much more quickly. For an exporter of a product, they need to work out what the tariff rate is, what standards they have to meet, what certification, how to do that. We believe AI can help with a lot of that, and at the same time can say, if you now have met the conditions of the European Union, here are 4 or 5 other markets you're able to go to as well under similar standards, and here's the paperwork. So we want to get the cost down, make it easier for people to get information and get their products and their goods and services to market a lot more easily. Much of this information in different places on government websites or through chambers of commerce is available, using AI to pull it together and actually give New Zealand exporters a real advantage, not only the market they want to go into, to learn about all the other opportunities that are there as well.
What's the intention of this is of this agreement?
Yes.
Just given the tenor of some comments on the views, is there any concerns about the welcome he might receive here?
Oh no, I think he's going to be incredibly well received across the country. I mean, it's fantastic he's coming. I invited him to come. He's doing, it's the first time we've had an Indian Prime Minister here in 40 years. We have a great personal relationship, as Todd has built a great personal relationship with the Trade Minister as well. And I think that relationship has enabled us to actually to discuss about the possibilities of what we can do together, which in turn has led to the FTA, which in turn will create benefits for both countries. And so, to have a 5 million people country do a deal with India in the way that we have is pretty special. It isn't common, and I think we should be celebrating it because this is a New Zealand thing and a Kiwi thing, and it's going to lead to huge growth and opportunity for New Zealanders going forward.
What lessons from the India FTA negotiations are you going to maybe carry over to the other markets?
Well, I think we did a high quality negotiation at speed. I think it was probably one of the fastest deals that India ever did because we had that set up at the beginning, at the top, between the relationships between the Prime Ministers and the Trade Ministers. The four of us are determined to do it on both sides, making sure our systems understood we wanted and expected them to do it. Where we came into the challenges or difficulties, we were straight up with it right from the beginning. And so I think we've got built very good capability, and I think for a lot of the partners that we're talking about wanting to do business with, they look at the Indian FTA, they look at the GCC deal, they look at the UAE deal, and New Zealand genuinely has built an exceptional reputation in the last 2 years as being people who actually understand trade well, are deeply commercial, and can build good quality deals and do it fast. Sorry? Oh, look, there'll be lots of components to the deals as there always is, and they'll vary by different countries, but we'll get into that in due course.
How can the proposed immigration changes be consistent with the discrimination clauses in the FTA?
Which clause? Which clause? What immigrations?
Non-discrimination is non-discrimination for other partners. How can it be consistent?
I'll let talk.
Yeah, well, look, New Zealand takes its obligations seriously. In all trade agreements, there is detailed negotiation, and both sides always understand both their obligation and commitment. I'll be very clear: we will meet our obligations under the Indian Free Trade Agreement in all senses.
Can you kind of, I guess, explain a little bit how it's non-discriminatory if it applies to only the Indians?
Well, largely, I'm not going to get into the detail of that because ministers are working through and still making decisions. But ultimately, there are lots of examples of trade agreements that treat different countries differently depending upon what has been negotiated. But I want to be very, very clear. New Zealand always meets its obligations, has taken on a trade agreement. And as far as the India-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement, we will meet all of our obligations. There is no reason for people to be concerned.
So is it because this visa is effectively just a creature of the FTA, is that why?
Well, you're going to have to wait until the final decisions are made that come out. But as an example, there is a new visa being created for India that no one else in the world will have, and it's based upon that negotiation. But I say again, we always meet our obligations under free trade agreements. We will, in as far as the India-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement is concerned as well.
Is this a cornerstone of your election campaign? I mean, you've got a lot of kudos for getting the India one over the line. Is this what your election campaign will be based on?
This is us saying, look, we believe in the potential of New Zealand. We've got to fix the basics that Labor broke, which we've been doing, and we've actually got to build the future. And when you look at the future of how do we make this country more prosperous and wealthy, how do we lift the floor in our living standards, one of the ways we do that is through more trade and investment. And that's why we believe it's one of the 5 big pillars that we know lifts and creates more wealth in a country, and that's why we're out there in the world doing it. We know, as I said earlier, that the exporting companies pay higher wages and salaries to New Zealanders, and so we've got to create more opportunities for them. And so we are a trading nation, and we're good at it, and we've got better at it. And so that's why we want to go now and put the foot on the accelerator and go for it, and do so well, and do so with a view of actually building out a country that is wealthier for our kids and our grandkids. That's what it's about. And so I appreciate, there'll be lots of people who often, I've observed a lot of negative talk about an Indian FTA, but I just say, go talk to any other country about the deal that we've struck and done, and we've got high praise for it internationally. And here in New Zealand, our focus should be that every time, as Todd will say, when we reduce a tariff for a kiwi fruit that ends up actually going into India that previously couldn't go there, or when we lost huge amounts of market share in India because we couldn't send our lamb into that market, and we went from 90% to 10%. That is we want to accelerate that so we create more jobs, more growth, higher incomes. That's how it translates. And so, these are technical things for sure. They're big agreements, but they are very, very local in terms of what they do for regional economies across New Zealand.
So when you go out on the election trail, you're going to be saying exports, trade, those sectors when you go and give speeches, or is it going to be like?
Well, what we're going to be saying very clearly is the choice is pretty crystal clear. You either have a government that actually has a long-term economic plan to grow this economy and to improve the affordability for New Zealanders, or you have the alternative, which is a back to the future of tax more, spend more, borrow more, and that has caused huge pain and suffering for New Zealanders, as we've been evidence over the last 2.5 years. But we're in a recovery. Look at the first quarter results of growth. Look at our trade surplus in April in the middle of a fuel crisis. Look at the forecast that we've had just in the last week. We've had a $3 billion improvement to our deficit situation forecast. And so, we have growth aspirations, and that is the thing that we have to do. Not put a wrecking ball through the economy with a capital gains tax, courtesy of Chris Hipkins, a wealth tax, inheritance tax, income tax rises, corporate tax rises, trust taxes, gift taxes, from what we see on the other side with Labour, Greens and Te Pāti Māori. And so for us, we are the party who believes strongly in growing the economy, and that is how we're going to make New Zealanders wealthier, and that's what we're here to do.
Yes, America's just concluded a negotiation with them, and actually we sell quite a lot of dairy into Bangladesh, but as part of the negotiation with the US, they've reached a zero tariff rate, and so that will put us at a great disadvantage. My interest in Bangladesh is a bilateral free trade agreement. Bangladesh has indicated that they are interested in joining RCEP as well, which I think would be a good addition, but this is very much a dairy play to make sure New Zealand dairy exporters are not disadvantaged compared to their US competitors in that market.
Is that the most urgent one to say?
No, it's not the most urgent. I mean, all these things we should go through, and consider. But it is one that I know the New Zealand dairy sector is very interested in, raised with us. But actually, as the Prime Minister said, some of those non-EU European countries are very wealthy. We have a great relationship with them. Some of those we've had a lot of conversations about how we can bring down barriers to trade, away from a formal trade negotiation. There will be some chances there to move relatively quickly. And then if you have a look at Brazil as an example, they are starting to look to do deals with the world. Mercosur's just done one with the European Union. We now have better access to South America via Auckland than we have ever had in our history before. Kiwi exporters are going to want to get up there because people in Brazil deserve to be able to consume high quality, safe food from New Zealand as opposed to whatever they end up having to get from the US.
I mean, I guess with Bangladesh, are you aiming to get the same deal that everybody's got?
Well, we're always going to get the very, very best deal that we can there, but I don't know why you would want more US dairy product in your market. We could have the highest quality, safest in the world from New Zealand, so it'd be in Bangladesh's interest to give us the same arrangement, I would have thought.
Okay guys, that's it. Thanks so much for coming out. Appreciate your time. See ya.